Let's have a look at what would happen if my polynomial starts with a negative monomial. In other words, I'm starting with a negative. In this case, when I want to factor this, instead of just taking out the GCF, I would factor out the negative of the GCF. So, quickly, what is the GCF in this case? The GCF, negative 5, 50, and 10, all of these numbers are divisible by 5. And the variable parts, I look at the one with the smallest exponent. That would be just an x to the first. So the GCF is 5x. Now let me show you something. If I take this polynomial that I had right here. Now, what we have seen is that I could, strictly speaking, take this polynomial, multiply it by 5x, and divide it by 5x at the same time. This could cancel out. This wouldn't really change anything. So, if I'm now looking further from what we have done before, then division of one polynomial by a monomial we have seen. That means that each term is going to be divided by this monomial. So we have that on this inside of the parentheses, each term is going to be divided by 5x. And because it is the GCF, it divides in nicely. So what I have on the inside of the parentheses now is, let's have a look. Negative 5x cubed divided by 5x. Negative 5 divided by positive 5 is a negative 1. And x cubed divided by x is just an x squared. The 1 I do not need to write. It is a negative x squared. Plus 50 divided by 5, that would be 10. X squared divided by 1x is just going to be 1x. Negative of 10 divided by 5, that is a negative 2, and the x's are going to cancel out. Now, this is factored, but the problem that we have is we don't like that the inside of the parentheses here starts with a negative. I always would like to have the parentheses right next to whatever comes first. The negatives on the inside of the parentheses don't look nice for us. They make things complicated. So the way that we are fixing this is, instead of dividing everything by positive 5x, so in other words, we are factoring out a positive 5x, we are going to take out the negative of this GCF. Again, I can multiply something by negative 5x and divide it by negative 5x at the same time without really changing anything. The thing that will change now is the following. That I will have a negative on the outside, and I divided everything by negative 5x, and that will then do the following for us. This negative sign will come on the outside, and on the inside, you notice that 50 divided by negative 5 would be a negative 10. And I can use this here. Negative 10x divided by negative 5x would be a positive 2. So the signs on the inside are all switching around, but now my parentheses here starts directly in front of the x squared. There is no negative. So whenever this happens, instead of the GCF, we will factor out the negative of a GCF. Let's see if we have maybe one more example of this. Let's go ahead and look at the following. We want to factor a negative 4x squared plus 8x. All right, so if we are planning on factoring this, I notice that my polynomial starts with a negative sign, with a negative 4. So, strictly speaking, the GCF between these two monomials is 4x. But instead of factoring 4x, we will factor out a negative 4x. So, what I will do is I will take out a negative 4x. That means I will divide everything on the inside by negative 4x. Now, let's have a look what happens on the inside. The negative 4x stays on the outside. I pulled that one out. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is positive 1. This cancels each other out. And x squared divided by x is x. Positive 8x divided by negative 4x is a negative 2. If I write down what I am pulling out in such way, then I can never get the signs wrong of the things that are being left on the inside. Look, I can prove this, I can test this, whether I did this right. If I would multiply this out here, it will have to be back a negative 4x squared plus 8x. And it is. Using the distributive property, 4x, negative 4x times x, that is a negative 4x squared. And a negative 4x times a negative 2, that is a positive 8x, which is what we had to begin with. So, in short, whenever we start a polynomial with a negative sign and we want to factor, we are going to factor out the negative of the GCF.